I am sending a dispatch from 1984. Yes, I want to talk about Air Atlanta, not Soul Plane, but Air Atlanta. It was launched on my dad's birthday, actually, February 1st, 1984. And I flew this airline one time because I saved all of my old, not all, but a lot of my old paper tickets from flights and flights and flights when I was younger, because my dad moved from Philadelphia down to Atlanta in the 70s for a new start. And I would have to fly back and forth to visit him, but my airline was Delta Airlines. Now, I'm going to bring up some of the shady business practices of Delta Airlines. Air Atlanta was the dream of Michael Hollis. Now, he was a lawyer, but a risk taker. He had this vision to start his own airline, and he barely had $500 in the bank at the time. But the story is that he walked into his brother's office, told him about his dream. Now, he did not have any aviation experience, but I love the moxie. And he also approached his family. His mother and grandmother, they invested about $35,000 into his dream to make this a reality. Now, he brought in industry heavyweights from Pan Am, TWA, and the FAA. And this Air Atlanta wasn't a pipe dream anymore, but it was like a private club. Very high quality from a foundational Black American. This is true Black excellence. I want to say that this came about due to the deregulation, and this was Edward Kennedy that helped to bring the deregulation of the airline industry into play, and that's how Michael Hollis was able to do this. Just a little cultural reminder, if you were listening to V103, you may hear Shaka Khan talking about I Feel For You, and maybe Prince talking about Let's Go Crazy. Yes, that was the times. And the Cosby Show had us in a chokehold. Look at me, some kind of reject Cosby kid here. And Whitney Houston with all the fluffy hair. Yes, we all had fluffy hair, remember? And this is when Madonna was beloved by so many. This is before the Creep Show began with her, but some may think that the Creep Show had always been there, but I used to love her. We were listening to Borderline and copying her style, which she got from a lot of the village kids in New York, right? Okay, I digress. And Wham! Okay, we had George Michael. This is before the Creep Show with him as well. I know he is dearly departed, but oh my goodness, if you knew what George Michael was like, he had us crying to Careless Whisper around this time. And President Reagan actually praised Michael Hollis for what he was doing in the airline industry. So we had George H. Bush, right? Oh my goodness. And can you imagine George Orwell's book, 1984? This was the year 1984. Oh my goodness. I wish I was awake to a lot of the stuff back then. By Michael Hollis naming his airline Air Atlanta, it drew the ire of Delta Airlines. Delta and Eastern Airlines threw some salt in the game, and they were jelly, I will say, because first of all, Mayor Maynard Jackson grew up with Michael Hollis. They were childhood friends. And Maynard, and that's who the airport is named for, by the way, Maynard really promoted his childhood friend. And the Eastern and Delta Airlines, they were reportedly doing the passive aggressive sabotage. They weren't linking schedules or sharing ticket systems or even acknowledging this new player. And, you know, Delta being hubbed in Atlanta, and oh boy, talk about salty. They also are alleged to have started a smear campaign against Air Atlanta by spreading rumors that there were some street pharmacy smuggling going on with the airplanes. It was, deemed baseless, completely baseless. But meanwhile, there were some reports that that was actually happening with Delta and Pan Am employees. They were moving bricks, allegedly. So we're talking projection much? Here's an unpopular opinion. I miss the days when people didn't get on airplanes and act like chicken heads. Yeah, I said it, birds. Chicken heads. And you may come back at me and say, how dare you? Spoken from a person who was on a hijacked airplane. Are you kidding? You can't say anything. The respectability politics. But I am saying it. I miss those days when people came dressed to impress. And I think that has a bearing on how you behave, maybe. And yeah, it's my opinion. Michael Hollis's Air Atlanta flew high for a short period of time. From 1984 until 1987 was the fall of his company. The stock market crash had a lot to do with it, investor drama, and the tabloids, all of the smear campaigns that were going on. And he had a really major personal tragedy where his girlfriend, she was a socialite in Atlanta named Lita McClinton Sullivan. She was unalived by her estranged husband. This is all allegedly. It's the Atlanta tea. You can clock it and look into these things. But this was something that was a really big story back in the day. And there was also an airline crash that happened with another airline carrier, and it made Michael Hollis very concerned for safety and the fact that he was not able to raise the money to maintain his airline. So he went ahead and shut everything down, and he actually pivoted into communications and petroleum and stuff like that. Well, he died rather young at age 58 in the year 2012. His legacy is that he has an academy named after him, the Michael R. Hollis Innovation Academy in Atlanta. I'm not sure if it's still open, but I'm assuming that it is. There was a quote where someone from the Atlanta History Center said that Air Atlanta never had a chance, but what they did accomplish was nothing short of miraculous.